Howdy legends, Zephyr, professional Apex caster and analyst here with another Apex Legends video. This is our Season 15 Legends tier list, and this season, to really fine-tune our recommendations, we're splitting our tier list into two. One for players who are Plat 3 and below, and one for players who are pushing Diamond, Masters, or Predator. This tier list is for those of you who are pushing towards Diamond, Masters, or even going for Pred. But first, our question of the day. What is your target rank in Season 15? Let us know in the comments down below. D tier. Starting with D tier, these legends are usable but not really something you'd recommend to anyone but the most die-hard mains. That isn't to say there aren't times where these legends can be useful, but more than that, there are a lot better choices out there. Mirage. Look man, Mirage sucks, okay? As fun as it can be to break someone's ankles with a bamboozle and as exciting as it can be to dunk on someone using the worst legend in the game, let's be real. At the higher levels of Apex, players tend to be more experienced. They'll know the tricks to spot the real Mirage, and they usually won't be so easily fooled by some of the tricks that you can pull on the less experienced players. Plus, as the skill level gets higher, using crucial abilities to make a difference in fights becomes even more necessary. Revenant. Revenant is one of the most despised legends in the game. He's not fun to play 99% of the time, and he's certainly not fun to play against. He attracts third parties, and his true power came when combined with another legend, Octane. On his own, Revenant is very weak. What weakens him further is that he requires very high coordination. If you can execute a perfectly timed totem push, you can put a team under pressure, sure. But for the most of Apex's player base, even in Diamond and Master ranks, you're solo queue or duo queue. That means that this high level of communication and coordination just isn't there. C tier. C tier legends are just kinda alright. Absolutely usable and sometimes situational, but will have their moments. In very specific situations, these legends can shine, and if you're a die-hard main of one of these few, then being comfortable on a legend is still a big advantage. Bangalore. Unless you're Shiv FPS, Bangalore is a legend that's only useful at times. Sure, she's stronger on Stormpoint because that map has a lot more open space, but with the heavy use of Seer and Bloodhound combined with other scan abilities from legends like Vantage, the fact that digiscopes can sometimes be crafted, and the fact that in the higher tiers, teams can literally just maneuver around your smokes, there are simply too many counters for her to be effective. Plus, while her tactical is better on larger maps, her ultimate is worse, as it's easier to maneuver around and is too quickly avoided. Fuse. Fuse is annoying. His knuckle cluster is powerful and is both damaging to your in-game legend and your enemy's mental state. His motherload is strong when used right and has scans for anyone inside it. But like most abilities in C tier, it is situational and it's only powerful when used correctly. There's a lot of potential to do some serious damage to your opponents, and while you're not as likely to harm yourself with his abilities like less experienced players might, there are certainly much safer legends to use that can be just as effective. His best ability is his extra long grenade throw and his ability to stack 2 grenades in his backpack. However, this ability does rely on ordnances and therefore is an ability that relies on being able to find them. Lifeline. Lifeline is a mediocre legend at this level. She doesn't sit in the D tier for 2 reasons. One, her care package has been upgraded significantly, and the smart loot aspect of it, along with the reduced cooldown, does mean that Lifeline is a handy way to gather loot and additional items along the way. If you're holding down a position in the late game, her care package can make great additional cover, and it comes with a free shield swap. 2, her revive ability isn't cancelled by Seer, and with Seer getting so popular at the higher levels of ranked, any counter to him is valuable. Loba. The benefits that Loba brings aren't as applicable in the higher ranks. Her bracelet is easily followed, and the ability to grab your favorite weapon isn't as big of a deal for more experienced players because naturally, you are versatile with more weapons. If the Apex rank system was different, Loba would be a much higher tier. She excels in sweaty lobbies, stealing ammo and items from fights nearby, and holding a position for the endgame. But in the current Apex meta of fight, you aren't really having teams play zone, and you always have the chance to craft and move around the map to loot. Mad Maggie. Maggie is a very strange legend. She arrived and everyone assumed that she was going to be really strong, and then she just wasn't. Then they buffed her pretty hard at the start of Season 14, and again, everyone expected her to be a super strong pick, and she just isn't. The strength of Maggie is similar to Fuse. She's great at breaching a position. Her drill can mess with teams, and her ultimate pops Gibby Bubbles, destroys caustic barrels, and breaks doors. But what if you're just in the open brawling? Her drill is useless, and her ball can be sidestepped, and her passive is just weak. Pathfinder. This one hurts. It really does. Everyone loves our boy Pathy, and I say this in every tier list. Our boy deserves a real passive. Yet, we have to face up to the truth that everything Pathfinder does ability-wise is just outmatched by other legends. His grapple isn't as good as several other movement abilities, and it's hard to execute. His zipline is weak, and on Broken Moon, literally outdone by the new rails, and, well, the less said about his passive, the better. If you're one of the very talented Day 1 Pathfinders who knows exactly when to use the grapple both offensively and defensively, he still can be a strong pick. But you're simply a good player who knows Pathfinder well, rather than Pathfinder being a super strong choice. He's also fun to play for sure, and he has amazing voice lines, but there's just no getting past the fact that Pathfinder isn't the top tier option that he was when the game released. Vantage. Taking a new angle. Vantage is the literal definition of situational. Her ultimate is insane when you hit your shots, but you could do pretty similar damage with other snipers and have much more ammunition. Her movement ability, the Echo Relocation, isn't that powerful compared to several other legends, and it's pretty slow to execute. Her passive seemed good on paper, but let's be real. How often does it actually make a difference in your games? What also sets Vantage back is how skill-based her kit is. You could argue that all legends should be as balanced as Vantage, but as it stands, a kill shot sniper or throwing down a Seer ult for maximum scans, or a Valkyrie ultimate or a Bloodhound ult. Vantage is useful, but a lot harder to get the true value from that than other legends. Looking for a leg up in Apex? We have everything you need to supercharge your gameplay to the next level. From detailed in-game knowledge and guides to specialist coaches, whatever you need, we've got you covered. Why not sit down with an Apex Predator and get direct feedback on your gameplay? Perhaps ask them for their tips and tricks on how to reach the next rank in Apex. Check out the link in the description and let's go. B tier. These legends are strong, useful in a wide range of scenarios, but not overpowered or among the best legends. Ashe. Ashe is a pretty decent legend. Her phase breach is quite strong now that it's easier to execute reliably, and her passive has always been an underrated ability because it's incredibly strong at times. Knowing where teams are fighting / there is action is both good for taking advantage of the ranked system's KP reliance and for avoiding hotspots if you're broke on loot and are looking to survive. Her tether is pretty slow to travel, but it can be pretty clutch at times. Catalyst. The latest Apex legend looked like she was going to be incredibly strong on paper. Finally, a legend that blocks scan abilities. The Scourge of Seer would finally have at least one valid counter. Yet, in practice, she doesn't counter Seer at all. Bloodhound, sure, but Seer, not a bit. Her abilities are still good, her wall is great for blocking line of sight and maneuvering, and her tactical does block doorways, but can be hard to place. Her passive isn't as good as it sounded because it does not impact missiles, grenades, and other abilities, but still has plenty of uses. It must be said that we don't know if the Seer / Catalyst interactions are intended or a bug. The trailer certainly made it look like she was a hard counter to Seer, but that's not how it plays out in game. If she gets changed and she does block all Seer scans, then Catalyst could be moved up to A tier easily. Octane. For our lower tier list, Octane was all the way up in S tier, but at this advanced level, his value severely declines. His jump pad is so loud that it loses the element of surprise that made it so effective. And when it comes down to movement, there are better legends that provide more. Of course, he does have his value. Where Octane excels is aggression. You can't help but be aggressive with his kit. It just isn't that useful overall. When you are up against advanced players, you're a lot more likely to get one-clipped in midair while taking the pad, and even his extra speed and stim while strafing isn't that difficult for strong players, with the 20 HP health penalty possibly being critical as well. Rampart. Rampart is a solid legend. Her Sheila can be strong when used well, just be careful to choose when you challenge with it. The slow strafe speed and the windup can catch you out if you're treating it like a standard weapon. Yet, if you catch someone out with it, you can actually insta-kill them. We've seen pros like G-Dolphin bring Rampart all the way to the ALGS and find great success with her. Her walls go up a lot faster and can really help you deal additional damage, especially at the higher elos where players tend to not know super specific counters to off-meta legends like Rampart. Her walls are extra additionally effective. Because of the speed you can get up, she's very good for keeping moving rather than sitting in a specific spot for an extended amount of time. Her passive is also nice to have, but there aren't really many LMGs available as floor loot that are worth using in the game right now. Watson. Watson is a legend that has gone up from our lower tier list. At the higher levels of Apex, her abilities really come into their own. Sure, you aren't going to be sat in a building all game like an ALGS, but Watson can help you control space in fights very easily. Using fences to hold spots or chokes can help prevent third parties and avoid teams wrapping on you from the back and catching you off guard. Her pylon also adds a ton of value. Whack that bad boy down in a building and you can be set up very quickly. This can help you resist a team in a 3v3 for some time, giving you the advantage or helping to buy time to reset if you were the team that fought in the building in the first place. Higher ranked players tend to favor grenades more, and her pylon literally eats them for breakfast. Wraith. Wraith is still a great beginner legend. There's a lot of room for forgiveness in her kit, and she ranked highly in our lower elo tier list as a result. But for advanced players, she's just kinda meh. She used to be super powerful, but since the early seasons has been surpassed by far better and more powerful options for aggressive movement legends. As the maps have gotten bigger, her portal is a lot weaker, and her phase ability also just doesn't seem to get you as far as it used to. These issues are especially relevant on Stormpoint. A tier. These A-tier legends are a fantastic choice that will bring the best out of you as a player and help complement your mechanical skills, giving you a bit of an edge in fights. Sure, they aren't quite the best of the best, but they're pretty close. Bloodhound. Bloodhound is one of the strongest legends in the game, and as a result, deservedly sits in the A-tier. They are an incredibly easy legend to use, with scans providing good information that are both very useful and easy to digest. Their ultimate is strong, but Bloodhound's weakness is that if caught in the open, they're very vulnerable. Where they beat legends like Seer is just how easily they can provide clear information to the team. Plus, Bloodhound's Beast of the Hunt ultimate is amazing for being aggressive with and taking 1v1s with a huge advantage. Even things like footsteps given by their passive provides easily digestible information that, unlike Seer, you don't have to actively remember to use the ability to get. This lets players focus more on getting big damage out rather than just scanning around all the time with your sensors like Seer players have to. Caustic. Caustic is scary to fight against. His gas can do serious damage, and his barrels can both deter people and literally block doors, delaying teams. Unlike Watson, he can also be used offensively, with his ultimate being a great way to lead a push. This is what sees him move up a rung in this tier list. Caustic can be deadly when used on the offensive. Playing off his ultimate and clearing a building or position for yourself does require coordination, but it's terribly hard to counter if done right. Plus, players know that Caustic is a pain to handle. He can stall fights forever and get the aggressing team thirded. If you want to grind out that RP and play for endgames, Caustic is a really viable choice at this level. You won't be popular, but you'll gain RP. Crypto. Fair disclaimer, if you are a solo queue warlord, Crypto is literally D tier. Your random teammates will run off and abandon you, and you won't be able to communicate the huge amount of info that Crypto can give you, so let's assume that you're 3 stacking. Crypto is huge for a coordinated team. He can scout positions, revive at a distance, grab banners at a distance, scan beacons at range, check how many squads are nearby on banners, place his drone as an extra pair of eyes, and EMP teams for a 50 shield damage with some stun thrown in. Damn, what is not to love? Well, it's the execution. His EMP is great if you execute from it. You have to be ready to capitalize instantly, and you need the right legends paired with him. We just mentioned Caustic, and the two legends can go hand in hand. EMP a building, get your Caustic ultimate inside, and it is absolutely GG's. An underrated feature is absolutely checking the number of squads in range. Getting thirded is a pretty common feature of ranked, and Crypto helps you avoid this. 5 teams nearby, you're probably getting thirded if you fight. Just 1 team nearby? Well, then you know the fight is isolated if you move quick. Horizon. Everyone's favorite space mommy is an incredibly versatile choice. Her ultimate is good, especially when paired with grenades, and her gravity lift is extremely flexible. It can be used to push teams or as an escape route. Underrated is her zero gravity landings. You almost always get a weapon off drop if you're Horizon, and she can really put out the schmovement when needed. She's fun to play, but you can easily get clipped out of her lift when playing in these high-tier ranked lobbies. One of the real advanced benefits of Horizon is the ability to generate angles. Using her lift to find a bit of crucial line of sight on a player that just got cracked is a very valuable tool. Try to use her lift not as an entry, but in this aggressive way. It provides much more value like that. Of course, being able to take height and do some advanced movement is also a great advantage of using Horizon 2. Newcastle. Newcastle is an underused legend in Apex. His pick rate is abominable, but why? Mostly because he isn't that fun to play really. He's a great survivor and resetter, but of course people prefer fancier legends that have more of an aggressive impact. But trust me, you can be aggressive with the old castle though. His mobile shield deploys super fast and is great at taking a quick shotgun 1v1. His castle wall can be a rotational tool as you leap, adding extra versatility to the ability. His revive ability far outshines Lifeline. The knockdown feature can even be used aggressively. The strafe speed is very high, and you can really absorb damage when you revive a teammate. In these sweatier endgames, sometimes having a Newcastle is just insane. He can make terrible spots playable, and this can be a huge advantage. He works really well paired with Watson for an ultra defensive combo, because the ability to whack a gen behind his wall stops the main Newcastle counter, a well-placed grenade. Valkyrie. Valk has it all. A jetpack for movement, used to take high places and cross open terrain, escape, and maneuver. Her rockets deal strong damage and stun enemies, and then her ultimate, the best ability in the game. You can be deployed as a mini UAV, escape from teams, or rotate fast and take a strong spot. She makes rotating across any map just so much easier, giving clear information and allowing you to get out of tricky positions. Or, as we have mentioned several times, get moving and find your next fight as quickly as possible. She encourages good habits thanks to her jetpack, as taking height and moving between cover are fantastic things to do in every fight. And you can do it with ease. Unlike legends like Horizon, she only has to use her passive for this, not a tactical with a longer cooldown. Do be careful with executing the skyward dive. Better players know how to focus the Valk, and you see players flipped out of the air all the time. So don't be too overconfident with the scenarios you can get it off. S tier. These two S tier legends are by far the strongest in the game and have excellent abilities that can turn the tide in any fight you take. Gibraltar. Gibraltar is often a very underrated legend by casual players, but the top pros have him as a 90% plus pick rate in some tournaments. His Dome of Protection is one of the most versatile abilities in the game. Used for reviving, pushing, resetting, or rotating, it is an incredibly strong choice. His defensive bombardment does major damage, and the Gibraltar gun shield lets you trade damage very effectively. Once you master the execution and use of his bubble, Gibby is insane. Make sure you're always taking a shotgun on this legend so you can maximize your damage output in bubble fights. Sure, He's a bit fat and can be caught out, but we've all seen super effective gibbies absolutely rolling teams. Why not yourself? Seer. Seer is busted. He is a very strong legend in the right circumstances and can be dominating in-game. His heartbeat sensor provides a lot of information and it doesn't notify the enemy that they're on scan. His ultimate is great, but it does attract third parties. The tactical is somewhat easily dodged, but when hit, it is a game changer. Like some of the other more complex legends, his skill ceiling is quite high, and Seer is not a legend you would recommend to a newer player. But for experienced players, he is a must pick. It is important to use his tactical mid-fight rather than a scan on contact style that you would use with, say, Bloodhound. Plus, his passive requires a lot of focus and discipline to be at its maximum potential.